I want to talk about some Patagonia stuff. I know you guys have huge news with the POW Slayer kit. Spent a long time in product and development. And I guess just, high level, can you just break down what exactly the POW Slayer kit is?
Sure. So the POW Slayer series is our iconic, it's kind of the tip of the spear outerwear that kind of exemplifies what we stand for in Patagonia snow. So it's that backcountry free ride, kind of hunting the biggest, steepest lines. And it's always been made from GorePro, and we haven't touched it in about 8 years because we essentially went down a path of trying to remove PFAS from all of our waterproof breathables, and we kind of drew a line in the sand years ago, and that was for all of our kind of owned materials and waterproof breathables. And Gore has always been a great partner with us, and we went to them and said, like, let's do this together. Our timelines might have been a little bit different than theirs, and so through like the spirit of good partnership, we've for 8 years been working with them to pretty much completely change all of the inputs that goes into what makes Gore-Tex that like trusted, longest lasting waterproof breathable material. And then the Pro is the ultimate version of that. That's going to last the longest and, deter contaminants and keep you the driest for years and years and years. So in that, we were making a lot of like different redesigns and really building into new innovations on the design side at Patagonia with outerwear. And so we learned a lot about patterning and fit, and also just had a ton of time to test with ambassadors and figure out what the next version of that POW Slayer was going to be. And so that launched 10/1. But as part of that big launch, we did an entire kit that's like a skin out, like base layer, mid layer, outerwear, backpack, all at the same time, which is really rare for me. I've been there 10 years and we've never been able to do that all together, which really allows you to make sure that everything layers perfectly together. Like make sure that seams aren't overlapping where they might be like sitting under a pack strap, and then all the cuffs are like perfectly layered, that when you take off a layer, you still have the pocketing where you need it. So it's all about the interaction of all the layers that we've put a ton of time into. And we're psyched. It just launched like a week ago, and people seem hyped.
Incredible. Before we keep going with that, I'm a rail dog, so I would love you to educate me, because I'm not really well educated on Gore-Tex and exactly, the changes that have happened with the new materials and why. Can you just on like a first grade reading level explain all that to me?
Yeah, so there's been a couple of major milestone changes in the chemistry that people use in waterproof breathables, and forever chemistries or PFAS have been used in a lot of things to repel basically contaminants, grease, water, whatever, and they exist in, you guys have all heard about it, like cooking pans and a lot of like technical outerwear in the membranes, and then it's also a coating on the top, and that coating gives you that like beading, that really nice beading, which is really important psychologically because people are like, this is waterproof, it's beading. And at some point, like that beading wears off, but the PFAS chemistry is like really made it strong and durable over time. And it's really good at repelling those contaminants like oil, nachos, whatever you get on your jacket. So as soon as the world started to learn that those forever chemicals are in all of our blood and they're really bad for us, and they cause a lot of like systemic illnesses over time, we were just like, we got to get out of this stuff. And so that meant like moving into a whole new chemistry that doesn't have those harmful effects. So that means we have to remove it from the membranes. We have to remove it from the face fabrics. And it exists everywhere. Like at a place like Patagonia, it's in board shorts and it's in like swimwear, which is crazy because you're like, why would you need it in something that's like going underwater? But it really helps stabilize fibers. It helps dry time. It helps with all these different things that we've been using it for years. So in order to move to this new chemistry, we realized that like it has to be done, but that also that beading that I talked about, it has to be taken care of. The jacket has to be taken care of a little bit differently in order to keep it clean, to keep that beading to happen, because the new chemistries, they're not good at one thing, and that's repelling the oils and the contaminants over time. So they start out really, really strong in that DWR, but then if you get it greasy or something, you have to basically wash it to get back the DWR, kind of excite the DWR. So that's kind of the learning curve that we've all been going through. We've been going through that for 5 to 10 years, and that's why GorePro took so long to get there, because it's the pinnacle of that level of testing to get it to really like work for as long as possible. And then that's, ties into longevity, where it's so important that you can keep your jacket and your pants or your bibs in your closet and keep using it year over year. And if you don't have that beading, you may not be getting wet on the inside, but like you're bummed, and it's a different feel. So
it feels spongy.
Yeah.
If you don't have that.
Yeah, exactly. Spongy. And then also you feel like wet and cold through the membrane, and you think you're wet even if you're not wet on the inside. And that's a very real part of the experience. And if you're touring, it affects the breathability too. So if it's not beading and it's not drying quickly, you start to really feel that. And I think, our ambassadors were like a big part of testing all this. And there's definitely like a learning curve too for you guys.
And so correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Patagonia that came to Gore to develop this PFAS-free new Gore EPE, correct?
Yeah, so they had some efforts and different developments happening that were going to try to kind of navigate the world of regulations that they saw coming down the pike, and also keep what they know is like the best stuff, the best chemistries, the best membranes, et cetera. And we were like, we can't go there with you. Unfortunately, we're going to be out of it by this time. So if you guys keep doing that stuff, we're gonna move on and do some other kind of proprietary fabric. But it wasn't in the spirit of like, we're bailing on you guys. It was more in the spirit of let's try to do this together. We promise we'll commercialize any PFAS-free Gore-Tex. We trust you that you guys can come out with. And so they have multiple levels. They have like general outdoor, which is the 2-layer, like kind of wear it in the resort. And then they have extreme and extended, which is better for touring or if you're like ski alpinism or something. And then they have the Gore Pro. And so we knew that was going to take a long time. And at first they were like, well, we don't think we can change our entire supply chain. But eventually, over like a year or two of negotiations and trying to be good partners, they turned around. And so I don't think that we did that, but I think I'm pretty proud that we were a part of it, that we kind of like told them, we'll go there with you. And like a lot of the other outerwear brands have been hating on it for 5 years, like the new shit's not going to be as good. And we're like, well, it's going to be real close. And that's where we're all going. So get used to it. And then we're going to continue to innovate and make the DWR just as good as the last stuff. It's just a little bit of an adjustment.
That's
Cool.
sick. I feel like it's really cool that Patagonia, with a brand being as big of a brand as they are able to leverage the factory like that and kind of partner with the factory for something that's like better for the consumer, better for the environment, better for all the other brands that will eventually be using Gore. Like, it's really sick to see a brand like that throw their weight around that way for something that's like for the betterment of all.
Cool. Well said. I'd love to hear about the extensive R&D, Nick, that went into taking this idea and all of the wild ride that came along with getting this stuff good enough where you feel like you can go to market with it.
Yeah. This is what, 5 years in the making. So I remember hearing chatter about it because the POW Slayer, is the kind of the pinnacle piece of outerwear in the line. And there was a couple year hiatus there where it just wasn't available. And for people that are in the backcountry, like that's kind of what you want. You want the most bomber, weatherproof, durable material that you can get. And they started talking about this new material and starting from scratch. So Wallis, Maggie, and a ton of other people involved behind the scenes, we kind of slowly started getting protos, try this cut out, this fit. It doesn't have the new material, but this is the vibe that we're going for. Do these zippers make sense here? These pockets, things like that. And then for me at least, the first R&D field testing trip was to Patagonia, southern Argentina, El Chalten. A couple summers ago, I went with Marie-Francois, Wallis, Maggie, who's another designer, Carson Oliver, skier. And we had a grip of protos to go take down there. And this is like pinnacle Patagonia. It's the Fitzroy skyline is the logo. So it was like really cool to be there with the crew and get that whole feel and ambiance of the mountains, really strong energy going on there. And it's also known for the gnarliest weather in the world. It's at the tip of South America. There's nothing between the mountains and you except like it's the ocean right there. So these storms come in with as full intensity as you could ever imagine. So it's really the perfect place to go test product. And we came out there with a grip of different fits, cuts, mid-layer materials, and we'd swap them off, kind of trade every day, and see where things were lacking. Materials that was, that maybe weren't up to par, and other things that were. Other things that would, get really smelly really quick, and other things that wouldn't. So they'd be more breathable and repel that sweat. And it was a really fun process. And I think we kind of made a lot of headwind on that trip. We had the full gamut of conditions, and we spent I spent a couple of weeks down there. And then they continued that on the following year. A crew went out to Revelstoke to test. And it was just the practicality of everything. I think the environmental aspect of all of it, I want something that's not going to poison the waterways. It's not going to seep into my skin over years and give me cancer 30 years down the line. And so that is all amazing. And then the things that I'm looking for is the performance. Are these vent zippers in the way of the backpack straps? Like Wallis was saying, when everything is paired together, do the pockets make sense? Are they in the right places? Do we have cinches in the right places? Is it, kind of chafing against certain areas when you're walking? And I think what's so great about the POW Slayer for me is, so I'm, primarily on a split board, so I'm doing a lot of touring. And traditionally, big picture split board touring gear is, different materials. It's lighter weight materials. It's, maybe soft shell, but it's not going to perform as well in a honker Alaskan snowstorm on the glacier, And this kit really does is the best of both worlds, where the new material is lighter and it's softer. So it's not it's crinkly cardboardy Gore-Tex. I think when I think about Gore-Tex, that classic shit, it's you could break it, So this stuff is malleable and fits your body and feels good. And I can, 100% get behind it. And it's awesome. It's a dream kit.
I know you mentioned you maybe have some story with Marie that happened in the testing time period.
Yeah, we had a couple, but so in El Chalten, the glaciers are quite high. So you got to walk through the forest pretty far, and you're approaching in the dirt. You're walking on the summer trails, and so you're not in your snowboard boots. You're bringing
Suffer for us.
You're just bushwhacking, basically.
Suffering.
Yeah.
Well, there's a trail, so technically it's not bushwhacking.
Okay, got it.
But
I picture no trail.
Back, boots, board, everything on your back for hours. It was insane, but it was also, they're just oh, this is cool. And we were suffering.
Okay, got it.
But
he loves to suffer.
Continue, yeah.
You remember the blisters Marie got? She couldn't walk after this one day. And I'm like, man, why are your blisters so gnarly? And she's wearing these Vans slip-ons. She's like, man, no one told me to bring approach shoes, hiking shoes. Did you know we were supposed to bring hiking shoes? It wasn't on the packing list. I'm like, yeah, we're going to southern Argentina. I'm going to bring some shoes. Slip-ons. Yeah. But it was a sick trip because, it was amazing terrain, beautiful powder conditions. And then we had Wallis and Maggie with us. And so we were really, we had our notebooks and we were taking note of things. So it was a cool way to approach the mountains other than it was really, honestly, one of my first proper field testing trips where that was the primary focus. It wasn't trying to get the clip, get the line or whatever. It was okay, let's put this kit through the paces right now.
Cool. I love it. I got another hard-hitting topic here. I think about, environmental footprint stuff. And the thing that makes the most sense to me is if you really want to be environmentally conscious, you just don't buy more shit, right? Just buy less shit, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel there's a little bit of a moral dilemma, right? When you work for a company that needs to make stuff to pay bills and things like that, right? So with Patagonia's huge emphasis on sustainability and things like that, where are you guys at with the moral dilemma that comes along with all that?
I think it's a really, really good question because we, as humans, have an impact. We all live and exist and need resources on this planet. We have kids. We want to get around. And so, rather than saying we don't have an impact. It's like, right, we have an impact. We're making products. We're living our lives and making choices every day. But what? So in a sense, like we talked the other day, it's like we're hypocrites. Like people like to throw around and point at the hypocrite thing at a lot of people, and you're like, okay, yeah, we're all hypocrites. I love gear. I love supporting like cool brands and cool gear. But then once you accept that, yeah, we're a hypocrite and we have an impact, then what do you do with your day and your life and the brands that you support and how you create product and it's everything from like, yeah, there's little things in the industry that are like overproduction is a major problem. Like if you have a lot of companies that have a really high level of revenue that they want to hit every year, they're just going to make a shit ton of product to hit that revenue. And like at Patagonia, for one, like we try to get a really, really accurate demand signal every year based on what we sold last year, based on what's happening with the economy, and not make more than that. So that like if you see stuff, we have a sale every year because there's like odds and ends, and that's fun too because people that can't afford full price can buy from the sale. But like we try to like cut to order, and I think a lot of rider-owned brands and a lot of like smaller companies that maybe aren't publicly traded try to do the same. So that's a big part of the responsibility. And then also, yeah, like we have all of these systems in place and processes from like quality and repairability and the ironclad guarantee and these things where we're like, don't get another fleece if that one's working. We're going to like repair it for you, just keep it in your closet or pass it on to your kid or whatever. And that's like really the number one thing you can do. And that's like you said, like if they're snowboarders that are making product that work for the companies, they're making quality product. They want stuff to last and they want it to be like the best shit out there. So that's sustainability right there. Then you can talk about like the inputs that you bring into it. And as long as they're not, sometimes you can adopt non-virgin inputs like recycled inputs and sometimes you can't for performance reasons. But if you have your eye on improving that all the time, that's what we're trying to do is like change the systems, change like, do we get our energy from renewable sources? All of those types of things that can change the way we make things and reduce the footprint. And then, yeah, to your point, make less. Just make what people want. Because there's companies out there and industries that they're just making shit to make shit. And they're not thinking about how long it's going to last. If someone's going to buy it, they're going to make it. So there's a sliding scale, a spectrum within all that.
I think one thing that, when I worked at Milo, we brought Patagonia in. And I think like one thing that I remember about Patagonia is the repair policy for warranty stuff. And even if things are technically out of warranty, the fact that the consumer can send something and have it repaired for like a minimal cost, So like I've always looked at Patagonia as a brand that like obviously has like very high social values. They got to sell stuff just like all of us do to keep it going. But they definitely like put their money where their mouth is with the repairing. And I think like I have seen other brands start to do that. It's honestly like probably more cumbersome and costly for them to repair it than just ship out a new jacket. But things like that is like something that like really is special to me about Patagonia.
Cool.
I think it's cool seeing like younger and younger snowboarders and skiers that are valuing that and like to have like dirty stuff that's patched up, and that's just great. And then if you do evolve into like different new products and you're like, oh, I've got a 2-layer jacket for the park, but I think I want to get into the backcountry and want a more packable 3-layer that breathes better. Sure, evolve into that and get your 3-layer, but just like wear it into the ground,
That's what's so sick about like the quiver mentality that I think just doesn't only apply to snowboards, but your clothing, your tools in the garage, you get into a new sport, and I'm kind of trying to get into biking right now. So I got my road bike, I got my gravel bike, I got a mountain bike, all those things. So if I buy a new piece of equipment, it's like a tool that I'm lacking, or it's a feature that I'm missing that I wish I had that would be a general increase in my quality of life index. Like, I don't necessarily need the newest bike gear, but like I want a seat dropper, on my mountain bike because it's going to make my life that much better. So I kind of think of that with snowboard gear as well, to like invest in this good gear, and you have it for certain situations, like snowboards, for example. You have these very specific boards that you only take out on certain days. So in the big picture, you're only riding that board 10 days out of the year, and you're going to be able to have that board for 10 years. So yeah, that quiver mentality, I think is pretty cool to like apply towards everything in life.
Yeah, well said. Going to Armada, just talking about product stuff along those lines, what went into the testing when you guys were releasing new boards?
I mean, it was all athlete testing. We got a small group of athletes on initially, like almost over a year ago, and they basically ideated what types of boards that they wanted, and then, within reason, it's like obviously super irresponsible to make 200 proto snowboards, but we basically like dialed in from once we had the shape, dialed in the tech, and produced 6 to 8 boards with the shape that the pro rider wanted, and then added different guts. So that's like what's been really sick about it for me was like the fact that like a lot of times riders just get sent gear, and even if it's their board that they're working on, it's like you got one trip, you got one round of prototypes, but with this, it was like from the ground. What do you guys want? What's missing? What type of tech? How are you looking for this board to ride? And then we produced it with all of the different techs and let the athletes really decide what they wanted, what we're going to come to market with.
Are you guys pretty dialed now in the boards? Or are you going to continue to refine over the start of this winter?
With the boards that are like going to market next year, we feel really confident and comfortable with them. Yeah. Did a ton of athlete testing. I mean, the engineering team's been on for over a year as well, so a lot of field testing. We did 2 different trips with retailers for testing, one at Brighton in May and then one at Hood. So overall, I'm feeling like really confident with it, but there's opportunity to expand. I think we have a really good baseline. I don't think there'll be much changes within the like baseline of the line, but there's going to be new models added for, gaps in the consumers that we're reaching and whatnot.
I feel like you guys did a pretty good job of keeping it under wraps the past year. Were you going full Craig style, black boards, no logos?
It's kind of sick. So Tanner came up with this like numeric code that represents Armada. So it's numbers. It's like 1 is the first letter of the alphabet. 18 is the second letter of the alphabet. So all of the protos that the team rode all have that on the bottom of it, which is cool.
Do you guys have hand signals that...
Yeah, there's like, I mean, I can't talk about it on air, but yeah, there's a lot of shit like that.
Tanner was so sketchy with his NDA, though. We tried everything.
Oh, yeah. I heard you guys were giving him shit like, so how's work going at Kemper, dog? Like, what are you doing over there? But yeah.
That's cool. I think just talking about ground up product development, taking an idea from thin air and then making something that eventually goes to market. It's really cool. And just going back to the POW Slayer, I'd just like to hear, is there a singular feature that you're the most excited about these things?
Yes. So my favorite thing as part of the exploration was taking something that people really liked and kind of had a heritage with a lot of backcountry guides and ambassadors that were like, I love this thing. Don't change it too much. Don't mess it up. And that is, I think, something that's good for like young shredders that are starting to realize how to give feedback to brands on product. A lot of times you come in, you like want to find things that are wrong and suck, but it helps just as much to find the things that you really appreciate and you notice and be like, dude, I love this pant cinch or whatever. So that was part of what we did was like, what are all the good things that we're not going to really mess with? And then let's try to refine those. And a lot of that exploration was around pocket configuration. And we were like, all right, if you're going to be carrying your devices in different pockets, depending on which mode you're in, like split mode or transition or descent, where should these pockets be? And we asked ambassadors and we asked a bunch of field testers and we got literally all different answers, as you would imagine. Like everybody likes to use things differently. And so that was part of it is like, how can we build in functionality if people want to run their phone and their beacon in a certain way and keep that distance between them so there's no issues with the functionality. So that was part of it. And where we ended up was like building these kind of like hidden pockets and these discoverable little features. So there's like some stretch woven pockets hidden in like the thighs and the internal pocket that hold everything nice and tight. But also my favorite one feature is this, like it's an expanding chest pocket on the jackets essentially. And you can't really see it in the like normal day. It's kind of like an origami pocket that if you want to put a skin in it or something, it expands, but it expands away from your body. So it's not taking up space inside, but then it just kind of folds away and you can't even see that there's a pocket there. So just like real like minimalist, like benefit features that I think kind of exemplify the entire design ethos.
Did you say skin in there?
Skin, yeah.
Yeah.
You get skins in them.
Yep, nice. You put skins in your backpack or back in your jacket, Nick?
It depends. Like the when you want to maybe put your skins in your jacket is if they're iced up and snowy and you want to warm them up for the right. Like you get to the top, your skins are all iced up, covered in snow, whatever. You can put them inside your jacket to warm them up, so they're gonna stick that much better on the next way up. So it kind of depends. But yeah, that's a pretty sick feature. And not that you asked me, but my favorite feature on the pants.
I was asking both of you guys.
Yeah, my favorite.
I just interrupted the skin question. Sorry.
Yeah. I love I'm like a huge fan of the cinch on the bottom of the pant. You see, it's been a trend lately in the backcountry. You'll see a lot of riders with ski straps. I think like the snowmobilers it helps with, but then, split boarding and boot packing, really anything like keeping that ankle tight so no snow is coming in. And that was always my thing, like pestering Wallis. I'm like, I love the cinch. And so there's kind of just like a robust cinch in there. So no snow is going to get in there. We have like this really sick scuff guard. So it's like durable. So for me, like if I'm climbing a line and have crampons on, it's like a bit burlier. So if I'm brushing against rocks or, got the sharps on, whatever, it's not going to poke a hole or anything like that. So it's like, just super bomber. And
good for crampons. It's huge.
Great for crampons. I know that's huge for you.
Yeah, that's something I look for in every jacket and pant. It's huge for me.
Yeah.
What kind of cinch are we talking? Is it like a pin, like a normal bottom of the pants cinch, or like is it a Velcro strap or exactly?
You have the pants?
I do. Yeah, I have some.
I want to hear. Cinches are a big topic of discussion in all pant development.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're giving away the secret sauce here.
Yep.
So I've been
talking to the mic. Yeah, there you go.
Testing these pants for well over a year now. I got these from Glenn, one of our designers, and they kind of, you just get gear. They're like, yeah, beat this shit up and see if it works. Wallis likes to make fun of me of how dirty I get my pants.
Oh,
that's great though. They're so scummy.
This is a beefy cinch,
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a quality cinch. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's an example of like we didn't do it on some pants over the last couple of years, and then by somebody like Nick, and then Ryland was fired up on it. It's like, why aren't you doing that? It's so obvious. We need that, and so we bring it back because we'll drift away from things if you don't tell us what's up.
Yeah,
yeah, but like took these pants to India. Like I said, like well over a year on them, and I'll still run them. Probably should swap them out at some point, but I love them. They're still working, and so it's just sort of like a testament to the if it ain't broke, don't break it type deal.
If it ain't broke, don't break it.
You are. I have to say that you are supposed to wash your Gore-Tex and your waterproof breathables. That's the biggest message with PFAS free, is that wash it. That gets rid of the contaminants, and then put it through a normal dry cycle, like a normal medium dry cycle, and that kind of essentially reinvigorates the DWR. A lot of people don't think they're ever supposed to wash their waterproof breathables, but this, especially in this new paradigm, and treat them like your skis and boards. Like do it a couple times a year, and whenever you feel like you have the time and it's the right time, wash and dry.
It's interesting because I would think that when you wash something, it would become more soggy, but it reactivates.
It reactivates. The heat reactivates. So washing it gets rid of the contaminants, and then the heat reactivates the DWR. And if that doesn't work, then there's these aftermarket wash-in stuff that you can use, like Storm Care, Nick Wax, Granger. They make really nice PFAS-free. But it just takes a little more care. It's like a cast iron pan or a pair of skis. You don't just like take a snowboard or a pair of skis out all year and not wax them.
Yeah.
What kind of a personal question, Walleye, but since you're an expert on the topic, any type of special detergents that we should be using? Like, can you just throw the old Tide?
Yep. That's a great question, because a lot of the detergents that have additives, whether it's like softening or scented or things that are trying to do anything besides a traditional detergent, don't use those. But any just regular detergent is great.